Money, 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 money. What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Ryan Loede, aka The Machine, coming to you live from the Cleveland, Ohio LC Financial Group office. Hey, if you don't know me, I take full responsibility. My name is Ryan Loede, owner of LC Financial Group, where we help everyday individuals create a multiple six-figure renewal income by servicing and assisting the insurance marketplace. Hey, we're building a nine-figure insurance agency over here at LC Financial Group. If you want to learn more about what partnering with us would look like, DM me, comment below, reach out to any of our partners here at LC Financial Group, or hey, send an email to our careers team. That's careers@teamlcfg.com, careers@teamlcfg.com. I'm coming to you once again with another insurance tip for insurance agents. Hey, if you like this video while you're watching it, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, subscribe to my channel. Hey, share this with other insurance agents or other individuals, because this is going to be applicable for all industries, sales industries specifically. But hey, I'm in the insurance industry, so this is for insurance agents. We're talking about how to bank your first $100,000 as an insurance agent. Or hey, maybe you've already banked $100,000, how to continue to bank $100,000 over and over and over again. Or maybe, hey, this even applies to how to bank your first $1 million, right? So we're talking about how to bank money, how to get money into the bank, how to hold on to that money, how to stay disciplined, how to stay consistent, and most importantly, how to build that frugality that you're going to need in order to bank your first $100,000, your first $500,000, your first $1 million, your first $10 million, right? Because this isn't just about $100,000, but as I've talked about before, that $100,000, that's the first stepping point. That $100,000, that's the first step, first incremental step to creating any type of wealth, to creating any type of financial freedom, right? And as we know, without income, we can't create wealth. Income is the first step. So we need to get our income right. And most importantly, we have to have this full understanding that money is needed to have and live a fulfilled life. Money is needed. Anyone that tries to convince you, anyone that tries to, get you to believe that money is not important, is an individual that has quit on the money game. It's an individual that ultimately has tried to get money, but they failed at getting money, and now they quit, and they're trying to convince you that money is not important. Money is very important. It's very important to have options, to have freedom, and most importantly, to have a full life. Money, hey, it doesn't necessarily buy happiness, but hey, I'd rather have money and not be happy than have no money and not be happy, right? I'd rather have some type of money in my bank account or some type of money passively coming in, right? What are some things that we should be striving for when it comes to money? Passive income that exceeds our earned income, right? We want to be striving for, hey, we're creating more money because of our money than we create because of our time. We want to be striving for being able to trade money for time instead of time for money, right? We want to be striving for passive income that allows us to not only pay for our monthly expenses or our living expenses, but also passive income that allows us to continue to invest into an investment vehicle or an investment asset, right? These are some things that we should be striving for. This is like these stable datums that we should have as far as money goes, right? Financial freedom should be your battle cry. As my Uncle G says, who's got your money? Who's got my money? Right? And that's what you need to be thinking about every single day. But when it comes to money, who are we connecting with, right? And when we're connecting with individuals, we don't just think about money. We think about service. We think about what we can give and what we can provide and how we can assist and how we can help. Because you're not going to get to money unless you have a service-orientated mindset, right? Unless you have that give mentality and that viewpoint of like, man, I just got to give myself to whoever or whatever it might be, and money's going to come. Like, don't worry about the money. When you're always worried about money, you're going to be too caught up on it, right? And we need to get to a point where we're not caught up on money, but we're mainly focused on servicing and giving, right? So today I'm going to bring to you guys 5 steps on how to bank your first 100,000, how to bank your first million, how to bank your first 10 million, right? I'm not going to talk anything besides how to bank your first 100,000 because necessarily I haven't banked my first $1 million. I've created income excess over $1 million that's hit my bank account, Full transparency, my first year in the insurance industry, about $359,000 worth of income. Then it went to about like $429,000. And then last year, hey, I made a little over, $500,000, right? But I'm not at that $1 million of banked income yet. So I've banked 100,000, I've banked 300,000, I banked 500,000, but hey, not that $1 million yet. So I can't teach you how to make $1 million, but these 5 steps are going to help you bank your first $1 million. But we're going to be talking about how to bank your first 100,000 as an insurance agent. It's something that I always have my partners within LC Financial Group striving for. I'm like, hey, this should be your first goal. Your first goal should be how to bank $100,000, nothing less. Because man, if you can, I'm telling you, if you can hold on to and be disciplined enough to hold on to $100,000 without putting it back into the marketplace, without buying and increasing your level of living, and increasing your level of monthly expenses or living expenses, then you're on to something. Because all it takes really to create financial freedom, obviously there's a lot of skills that are needed. There's, you got to be in the right vehicle, you got to connect with the right people, have the right relationships, you got to continually learn. But hey, be consistent and be disciplined with holding on to your money is going to be one of the biggest vital factors to creating financial freedom and to creating the success and indestructible wealth that you desire to create. So being able to do that, right? Not necessarily just increasing your income and then spending all your income and, getting a new house, getting a new apartment, getting a new car, new wardrobe, some new jewelry, whatever it might be. Like that's the last thing that you want to do, right? You want to be frugal with your money for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And then you can buy all that stuff later, right? It's a rule that my Uncle D has. It's like, you don't want to buy stuff with earned income. You want to buy stuff with passive income. You want that earned income to pay for like your living expenses, right? To be able to invest back in your business into an investment vehicle. But when it comes to buying stuff, whether it's cars, jewelries, whether it's a nice little watch, little Rolex watch, maybe some new wardrobe, a nice little suit coat, suit jacket, maybe a nice suit, whatever it might be, a new apartment, a new house, like you want to buy all that stuff with passive income, right? And that's another thing that we should strive for is being able to buy whatever we want to buy with our passive income, not our earned income, right? And being able to do it twice, right? Not just being able to buy one suit coat with your passive income, but being able to buy 2 suit coats with your passive income, right? You got to create these boundaries and these restrictions and these rules that you live by if you want to create true financial freedom. If you want to bank your first 100,000, you want to bank your first million, your first 10 million, you got to have rules, you got to have guidelines, you got to have boundaries, and you got to, most importantly, set these tight restrictions, right? Because hey, if you don't have restrictions and you don't have barriers, the freedom will not come, right? Life consists of many things, but the main things are freedoms and barriers. Freedom and barriers. If you have too much freedom and you don't have enough barriers, those freedoms will completely get washed out. If you don't have enough barriers and restrictions in life, you won't get to the freedom, right? So we're going to be talking about 5 steps on how to bank your first $100,000 as an insurance agent. Hey, my name's Ryan Loede, The Machine. Hey, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, give me a love, subscribe to my channel, share this with other individuals, and hey, hope this found you well. If you liked it, give me something in the comments below. Best comment below wins some free RL or LC Financial Group merch. And hey, hope everyone's having an absolutely fantastic day. So we're talking about how to bank your first $100,000, right? How to bank some dough, right? How to bank some dough, how to be consistent, how to be disciplined with your money, right? I hope everyone's doing well. We're in the Cleveland, Ohio LC Financial Group office. We got Mr. Benny up there. As you guys can see, he's talking about let's get some money, and that's exactly what we're talking about today. So we're talking about how to bank your first $100,000. Step number one. First, we want to decide. It's with any step in life. It's with any improvement in life, anything, any type of goal or target in life. The first thing that you need to do, you need to decide and you need to commit. Hey, make the decision right now. You're going to be extremely wealthy. You're going to have financial freedom. You're going to create indestructible wealth. You're going to achieve your goals or targets. You're going to achieve the success you desire, because not just for yourself, but also so you can give back and you can support, right? Some of my main purposes in life are to be able to support my charities, my churches, my community, a foundation I create, an organization. I want to be able to give back $10 million every single month, right? Hey, doesn't have to be that big, but that decision is the first thing that you're going to have to do. Decide right now that you're going to bank your first $100,000 as an insurance agent. Maybe you've been in the insurance industry for 5-10 years and you haven't banked $100,000. Well, hey, this should be your main priority right now. Decide to bank $100,000. You could do it within 2 months. You could do it within a quarter, 6 months, a year, however long it takes. Make that decision, and most importantly, follow that decision up with commitment. What does commitment require? It requires time, money, energy, resources, right? It requires time and it requires resources, right? You got to put that 100% commitment into banking your first $100,000. It's not going to come overnight, and it's, most importantly, it's not going to be as easy as you think. Nothing good comes easy as it seems, right? So making that commitment, putting forth time, putting forth resources, your energy, your persistence, right? Your perseverance, your creativity, right? The more you're committed, the more you're going to be creative to, bank this $100,000, right? So how to bank your first $100,000, decide and then commit. That's the first step right there. Decide and then commit, right? And then number two, what is the second step that we need to do when it comes to banking your first $100,000? The second step is what I've learned from my Uncle G, and something that I teach my partners here at LC Financial Group is, hey, that 40% rule. 40% rule. This is a rule that you should live by, that you should abide by. You got to, like I said earlier, you got to have rules. You got to have restrictions. You got to have these barriers that you set up in your life so you can create financial freedom, right? The 40% rule, what does that mean? It means 40% to a storage account, 40% to the IRS, and you're living on 20%, right? So for example, and I'm going to dive into this a little bit more after we go over these 5 steps, because this is one of the most important things. If you can knock down this 40% rule, you're going to be golden. So say, for example, you're making $10,000 a month. Hey, you need to put $4,000 into a storage account that you do not even touch. Your family's asking you for money. You can't even touch that account. $4,000 into a storage account if you're making $10K a month. $4,000 goes to an IRS, a tax account. And then, hey, you got, $2,000 to live on. If you need more than $2,000 to live on, then you need to increase the amount of money that you're making every single month so you can live by this 40% rule. So step number 2 on how to bank your first $100,000, 40% rule. And this is what's going to help you get to banking your first $1 million. What's going to help you to banking your first $10 million is the 40% rule, right? So step number 1, decide and commit. Step number 2, 40% rule. Step number 3 is increasing your skills, which ultimately is going to lead to increasing your income. So if you want to create more revenue, if you want to create more income, the skill level that you have right now, the amount of knowledge and wisdom that you have right now, it's got to be increased. It has to be increased. You have to learn more if you want to earn more, right? You have to continue to sharpen the saw. You have to continue to make sure that axe is sharp enough so when you're hitting at that tree, you're not going at it with the dull axe, right? You're going at the tree with a sharp axe that, like, man, you're just swinging and swinging and swinging, right? Do you want to bank $100,000 and it take 2 years, or would you rather have it take 1 year? Your skill level is going to be the ultimate determining factor of how quickly you're going to be able to bank your first $100,000. If your skills are all the way up here and you're maxing out your skills, you're learning every single day, you're doing your training every single day, you're jumping on Carl University, you're reading your books, you're listening to audiobooks and podcasts, you're going to conferences and masterminds, you're doing all of it, right? If you're all the way up here with your skill level, it's going to take a shorter duration, a shorter period of time to be able to bank that $100,000. If your skill level is all the way down here at rock bottom, you're like, man, I've learned enough. My skills are fine. I don't need to train. I don't need to read books. I don't need to go to conferences or masterminds or boot camps. And your skill level's all the way down here at the bare bottom. You're at level 1 or 2 when it should be at level 10. It's going to take double, triple, even 4 times the amount of time. It's going to be 4 times the amount of duration to actually bank your first 100K, right? You can accidentally bank your first 100K. You can do it. You're going to do it in your lifetime, right? You're going to make $1 million in your lifetime, right? You make, $20,000 a year over 50 years. You got $1 million, right? You make $100,000 a year over 10 years. You made $1 million, right? But are you banking $1 million, right? Are you banking 500,000, $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, right? You can create income. Everyone can create income. You have a job, you have a 9 to 6 job, or maybe you're in the insurance industry, you're a broker, you're 1099, you're independent. We all have a job, we all have the ability to create income. However, you got to have that ability to be disciplined enough to actually hold on to your income. It takes such another level of discipline and consistency to be able to hold on to your income. It's taking your game from an amateur to a professional, to be able to bank $100,000, to be able to live by this 40% rule. It takes you from going from being an amateur individual that is just creating income to being a professional, and like having that financial literacy, caring about your finances enough to be able to live and die by this 40% rule and to be able to bank your money and to hold on to your money, right? But step number 3 is increasing your skills, right? Increasing your skills is ultimately going to lead to increasing your income, right? As I said, hey, $10,000, you're banking away $4,000 a month if you're living by this 40% rule, $4,000 a month into a storage account. Well, hey, it's going to take 2 years if you're making $10,000 a month. It's going to take 2 years to bank this $100,000. How about we just increase your skills? You learn more. Hey, if you're selling Medicare, you start to sell hospital indemnity plans like our West Coast executive here at LC Financial Group, Luke Pisani, sold $9,000 worth of HIT plans, hospital indemnity plans, just this last month in June, right? He's not just selling Medicare Advantage. So increasing your skills, selling ancillary products if you're a Medicare or health insurance agent, or increasing your skills if you're a final expense agent to being able to sell more premium, to be able to sell mortgage protection, those higher income, worth individuals, being able to sell them, right? So increasing your skills is going to lead to you being able to increasing your income, right? And then step number 4, we're talking about staying broke and going broke. So staying broke and going broke, we're talking about hustling like an immigrant. We're talking about getting rid of all your money so you are constantly forced to execute, right? You always hear that saying of like all the wealthy people, they're broke, right? All the real estate people, they're broke. They don't have any cash. All their cash is in real estate, right? And that's how you want to operate. You want to operate on this level of staying broke and going broke. Staying completely broke. And what I mean by that is, hey, not raising your level of living just because your income is increasing. It's one of the things that happens very often. Hey, it even happened to me, right? Even happened to me, but I see it happen at such a higher level. People start making, insurance agents, they start making $50,000. They think, man, I'm doing great. They start to make $10,000 a month. Man, I'm doing great. And they start to blow all that money. They start to raise their level of living instead of staying broke and going broke. Going broke, what does that mean? Hey, that $10,000 that you're making every single month, you're putting 40 into a storage account that you don't even touch, and you're putting 40% to an IRS account that you don't even touch, so you have money to pay for your taxes. If you're an independent insurance agent, you have money to pay for your taxes at the end of each year, and you're living off 20%. After that, you got no money. You got little to no money left for any type of, depreciating asset or any type of stupid spending decision that you can make if you had money in your account, because that's ultimately what's going to happen. If you just have money sitting around, you're going to spend it. Money gets bored. Money's like a jealous lover. It wants to get attention from something or someone. And if you just have money sitting around, you're going to spend that money. It's like, hey, when I first banked my first $100,000 back in 2019, within my first one and a half years in the insurance industry, I immediately was like, man, I got to get rid of this money. I gave it all to my Uncle G, Uncle Grant Cardone, put it in Cardone Capital, had it started creating passive income for me, and I continued to stay broke, and I continued to go broke, right? So that's step number 4, right? We're talking about how to bank $100,000. Number 1, decide and commit. Number 2, 40% rule. Number 3, increase your skills. Ultimately, it's going to lead to you increasing your income. Number 4, staying broke and going broke, right? So 4 steps to creating and banking your first $100,000. One of the most important things, one of the incremental steps that you're going to make in your career, and hey, if you haven't done this by now, this is something that you need to do. So guys, I hope this found you well. I know I talked about 5 steps, but man, I forgot that 5th step. It must not be that important, right? But 5 steps how to bank your first $100,000 as an insurance agent. Decide and commit. 40% rule. Increase your skills. Increase your income. Stay broke and go broke. Hey, perfectly fine. You take these first 4 steps, you're going to be able to bank your first $100,000, maybe your first $1 million, maybe your first $5 million, maybe your first $10 million, right? If you have the ability to bank $100,000, you will have the ability to bank $1 million. You will have the ability to be consistent, to be disciplined, to bank $1 million, right? But it all starts with this $100,000, and then you incrementally keep increasing that income, right? And then step number 5, I think it came to mind, or actually I'm just creating this one off the rip. Step number 5 is goals and targets. You got to have these goals and targets. You have to have goals and targets of like, hey, this is what I need to make every day. This is the amount of deals I need to close every single day. This is the amount of deals or what I need to make every single week, what I need to make every single month, right? Having the roadmap of like, all right, $100,000, what is that? $100,000 divided by 12 is about, $8,500 a month, right? $8,500 a month. It's gonna get you that $100,000 a year. So $8,500 a month. Divide that by 4 weeks or 5 weeks. Some months have 5 weeks. Okay, it's about $2,000 a week. $2,000 a week divided by 7 or divided by 5, whatever amount of days you're working. 2,000 divided by 7 is about $275, $300, give or take, a week. A day. So all you need to make is between $275 to $300 a day if you want to bank your first $100,000 within your first year, right? So setting those goals and setting those targets. Maybe you're just ripping through it. You're like, boom, boom, boom. It's like clockwork. 2,000 here, 2,000 there, 2,000 here, 2,000 there, right? Boom. Like you're hitting that $2,000, $100 every single week to make that $8,500 a month that you're going to need every single month to bank your first $100,000. You're like, man, I've been breezing through 2,000. Maybe you even hit $2,000 on a weekly basis, and you hit that halfway through the week. What are you going to do now? With those goals and targets, you're going to increase the target immediately. One of the things that holds a lot of people back and gets people into a stagnant or comfortable mode is that they hit a target and they don't immediately increase that target, right? Maybe you hit $2,000 within a week. You do it for a month straight. You're like, all right, let's just go to 2,500, right? Let's just go to 2,500. Now you hit 2,500. Oh man, you've been doing that. You built your confidence. You built your certainty. You're like, man, I'm rocking and rolling. You got a lot of momentum. Hey, move that $2,500, move it to $3,000. Next thing you know, instead of it taking a year to bank your first 100,000, or maybe 2 years to bank your first 100,000, it's going to take 6 months. It's going to take 3/4 of a year. And boom, you're already at your first $100,000, right? So number one, decide. The first step to anything in life, guys, is to decide, right? Number two, you got to commit. Number two, you got to hit that 40% rule, decide and commit. That's step number one. Number two, 40% rule. Number three, increase your skills. The more you learn, the more you're going to earn. You know, learning is not something that you did. It's something that you do on a daily basis. That's going to help you increase your income. Step number four, stay broke and go broke. Step number five, having those goals and targets, right? So let's just dive into this 40% rule really quickly, because I'm telling you, that 40% rule is one of the things, it's one of those things that you're going to have. Wow. Look at that. Just came right to mind. We're talking about step number 6, which actually was step number 5, but it's, oh my goodness, how could I forget about this? The money spending system. You know, I touched on this a little bit when I was talking about stay broke and go broke. But step number 6, which was actually step number 5, but hey, we're talking about 6 steps now. Money spending system. The money spending system. What is this? This means, like I was talking about in step number 4, stay broke and go broke, that when you're increasing your income, you make sure that you're abiding by the money spending system. There's a 5-step money spending system, a 5-scale or 5 program that you have, those restrictions. I was talking about this earlier, the restrictions and the barriers and the guidelines. Without the restrictions and the barriers, you're not going to bank 100,000, let alone $1 million or 10 million or $100 million, right? You have to have a money spending system. Like number 1 is like, hey, you absolutely need it, the basic living expenses. Number 2 of the money spending system, hey, it's a 100% chance of helping you create income. Number 3 is that it's a slight chance of helping you creating income or creating revenue, right? Number 4 and 5, we don't even need to dive into it because you don't even want to step into number 4 or 5. And that's why I was talking about in staying broke or going broke. One of the things that happens very often with insurance agents, with individuals in general, when they start increasing their income, they start to increase, what happens first is they start to increase their expenditures almost immediately. They're like, oh man, I got all this money, especially when you go from making let's say $20,000 a year to making $100,000 a year. You think you're a baller, you think you're top dog, you're a top G, right? And you get that premature baller type of status, and you start to spend all your money instead of continually abiding by that 40% rule of banking your money and banking your dough. And hey, I'm telling you this by example. I've done it. I've been there before. I thought I was all that. I was spending my money, on stupid things, right? On stupid things. I've done it from personal experience. And I know if I've done it, Ryan Loede, the machine, a very hard individual on himself, I know other people are doing it. You're possibly doing it as you're watching this. So having a money spending system, and hey, if you want this money spending system, comment below, DM me, hey, I want the money spending scale system, Ryan. But there's a money spending system that you have to abide by. If you do all these 6 steps, you're guaranteed, 99% guaranteed to bank $100,000, to bank $1 million, right? Because this doesn't just pertain to $100,000. This can help you get to $1 million bank, $10 million bank. Wow. I'm glad I remembered that, folks, because that's one of the biggest things right there. But hey, we're going to talk about this 40% rule really briefly. So what does this mean? I want to just break this down really quickly. I've learned this from my Uncle G, right? I've learned this from my Uncle G. And this is one of the most important things. There's been times when I wasn't operating and abiding by this, and there's times where I am, and times where I am, oh man, I'm on go mode, right? So number 1, with that 40% rule, 40% to storage. You want to have three accounts with your bank at the very minimum. 3 accounts with your bank. 40% to storage is 1 bank account. Number 1 bank account. That's your first bank account. 40% to the IRS, might be a little less, might be a little bit, depending on where you live, it's probably even less, is your number 2 bank account. And then number 3 part of the 40% rule is 20% you live on, 20% living. And that's number 3 bank account. So you got You got your personal bank account. Personal income bank account is kind of what I call it. My personal bank account income. I have my second bank account, which is for the IRS. I call that my tax account. And then I have my third bank account, which is my storage account, right? So 3 bank accounts that you want to set up to make this 40% rule go well. So for example, so how does this 40% rule work? I was talking about it earlier briefly, but I want to really just jump right into it really quick. So let's say you're making $10,000 a month income, right? Which is great. Many people in the United States are not doing that. Many insurance agents aren't even doing that, right? $10,000 a month income. What you want to do is you want to put $4,000 in the storage, right? $4,000 in the storage. You want to put $4,000 to the IRS, and you want to live on $2,000, right? You want to live on $2,000, which, I'm telling you, it's pretty tough. You want to live in Miami, you ain't living on $2,000. You want to live in California, you ain't living on $2,000 unless you're living, in a place where it's like $1,000 a month rent. Like, you can find those places, man. But $10,000 a month is what you're making, right? $4,000 goes to storage, $4,000 goes to the IRS, $2,000 you got to live on. Hey, you're like, man, Ryan, I want to bank $100,000 quicker than a year because, hey, think about it this way: if you're doing $4,000 a month times 12, that's only $48K a year stored. Which, don't get me wrong, it's not bad. It's not bad. You do that for 10 years, you have $500,000 stored. But this is where it comes into the point of, like, when I talked about earlier, increasing your skills so you can increase your income. Staying broke and going broke, right? Having goals and having targets that have you reaching higher to higher levels of performance and peak capacity that your spiritual being within inside yourself, you're spiritually capable of doing that, right? But $4,000 a month for 12 months, you're only at $48K. It's going to take you 2 years to bank, $100,000 if you're living and abiding by this. Or maybe we're talking about, hey, I want to do this within a year. Well, hey, if you want to do this within a year, what's going to happen here? You're going to need to make more than $10,000 a month. If you want to do this within a year, you got to do at the very least, you need to be making like $20,000 a month. $20,000 a month, 40%, that's $8,000. Now we're talking, right? $8,000 a month in the storage, $8,000 to the IRS, and then you have $4,000 left a month that you can live on. Now we're at a level. Now you're like, man, I finally got some breathing room. I can go out to eat sometimes. I don't have to eat ramen noodles every single day. I could, maybe spend some time at, doing some fun things. Maybe it's going to ride some roller coasters. Maybe it's being able to give back to your family, taking your family out to a restaurant, or to maybe I could take some vacations now, right? That $20,000 a month, now you're getting to a point where you have $8,000 a month that goes to storage, $8K per month, which equals $96K per year in the storage. Now you're getting to a point where, like, man, now it starts to become more real, right? You have more reality with it. It becomes more like, wow, like this really could happen. $8,000 goes to the IRS per month, and like, dude, I guarantee you, depending on where you live, you're going to have some extra money left over, but you want to have that tax account. And then $4,000 goes to living. Maybe you're like, Ryan, I don't even need $4,000 for a living. Then boom, let's change that. Let's change that 4,000. Change that 4,000 to 2,000, and we put an extra 2,000 into storage every month, plus 2,000. Now you're storing what? Now you're storing 10K per month. Now you're at 100K stored per year, right? And this is what I'm talking about earlier, where I'm talking about this point of like, hey, staying broke and going broke, not increasing your level of living. Maybe it's you living with your parents for the next year or so you can really get your money right. living with your parents for the next year or so, so you can get your money right. Having $2,000 just to live on, perfectly fine. If you could do it, I would do it, right? But $20,000 a month, maybe you're like, man, Ryan, I want to do this within 6 months, right? 6 months, okay. Well, that means 6 months, $100,000. You want to store $100,000 in 6 months, or let's do 5 months to make it a little bit easier. 5 months, that means, hey, you got to have $20,000 a month that goes into storage, right? So at $20,000 a month of earned income, that gave us about $8,000. We're going to need what? We're going to need 50,000 times 0.4, $50,000. $50,000 per month. If we want to get, if maybe the goal equals 100K stored in 6 months. You're like, man, I want to speed this thing up. I want to create success quick. I'm the same way, right? I'm like, man, how do I get to where I want to be quicker? How do I expedite this process? You know, you got to love the process. You got to love and be patient with it. But man, I'm trying to speed it up. And I'm sure a lot of you guys watching are the exact same thing. Maybe the goal is $100,000 stored in 6 months. What do we got to do there then? Okay, that means we got to make $50,000 a month. 50,000. That means we have 20,000 a month into storage. 20,000 a month to the IRS, and then we have $10,000 to live on. Now you're getting to a point where, like, wow, now you're making some real dough. You're making some real money, right? And you just keep increasing these targets, right? I talked about that earlier, goals and targets. Like, once you hit that 50,000, man, increase it to 55, increase it to 60. Keep raising your ability, because your potential is so much more than you ever thought it was. You keep realizing what your potential is, the more that you achieve things and the more that you progress in life. So, wow, it's a lot of great information. Hopefully I did not overwhelm you. My intention was not to overload you with data and information. Hopefully I kept it simple, because the more simple you keep things in life, the better you'll be able to execute on it in life. Less is more is less, right? How to bank your first $100,000 as an insurance agent. My name's Ryan Loede, aka The Machine. Number 1, decide and commit. Number 2, 40% rule, just what we were talking about just now. Number 3, increasing your skills immediately is going to allow you to increase your income. Number 4, staying broke and going broke so you continue to hustle like an immigrant and you continue to force execution on yourself. Number 5, goals and targets. Number 6, money spending system. If you want that money spending system, DM me or comment below. Money spending system. I'm telling you, this is key. It's one of those, barriers and restrictions that you can live by, right? But you got to set rules in your life. If you want to create financial freedom, if you really want to create, indestructible wealth, you got to have rules that you live by. You got to have restrictions and barriers that you set up in your life. You have to. You want to get to freedom, you got to have barriers. You have to have barriers. If you don't have enough barriers, you're not going to get to freedom. If you give yourself too much freedom without limiting the amount of barriers you put on yourself, those freedoms are immediately going to vanish. They're going to go away. Hey, if this found you well, if you like this, if you got some value or got some good tactical data out of this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Give me something in the comments below. Shoot me something in the comments below. Hey, this was great, Ryan. I liked it. Or, hey, maybe you didn't even like it. If you didn't like it, let me know in the comments below. Give me a thumbs down. Perfectly fine. I want to make sure I'm bringing you guys tactical data, tactical information that you could use in your life today, valuable data that you can use to increase your income, increase your revenue, and most importantly, become the best version of yourself. Hey, if you don't know me, take full responsibility. My name's Ryan Loede, aka The Machine, owner of LC Finance Group, building a 9-figure insurance agency, helping everyday individuals create a multiple 6-figure renewal income. If you want to learn more about what partnering with us here at LC Financial Group would look like, DM me, comment below, reach out to any of our partners here at LC Financial Group, or hey, send an email to our careers team, careers@teamlcfg.com, careers@teamlcfg.com. How to bank your first 100,000, how to bank your first million, how to bank your first $10 million. Hey, you heard it here. Hope this found you well. You guys have a great rest of your day. Till next time.